It's been slow lately. You might want to know why no one's been booking your studio. If they can't find you, they can't book you. Not enough people know about your place and you're not promoting it effectively. Your online presence is getting buried. Most of my clients are coming in either through a reference from another client or they're coming in from a Google search. They went and looked for a local recording studio in their area. Google pops up 3 on the top half of the top page, and they choose one of those. If you're not in one of those top 3 slots or at the top of the page, or certainly on the first page, if your studio is buried on the 3rd or 4th page, most people don't scroll down that far and they're not going to find your studio at number 20. You need to be at the top of the page and have a good web presence there, have a good thumbnail, a good video there, something right at the top, so when they see those 3, they're going to choose you. I can't tell you how important it is to get some good content up there, to get those good reviews. If I know that I have a customer who's very satisfied and the job is done and they've been super happy about that job I did for them, I'll ask if they want to do a quick review for me and send them the link so that they can go very easily, click on it and very easily go leave me a nice little review on Google or something like that. Even on Yelp helps a little bit, but mostly it's Google and Facebook. I gotta say, I do get some stuff from Facebook still. But make it very easy for the customer to go there and give you a nice little review, preferably 5 stars, but don't try to lead them into leaving a 5-star review. Just make sure you ask your good customers. If you've got somebody who doesn't like you very much or is not a happy customer, don't solicit a review from them, obviously. Make sure that your clients are happy 100%, double check, and then say, hey, would you mind giving me a review, an honest review on Google? And that'll get you up to the top of that page. And those listings, those 5 stars and that content, creating constant content on YouTube will get you up and keep you up at the top of that search page. If you're putting out a lot of content, like this content that I'm putting out right now on YouTube, the more content you create, the more attention you're going to call to yourself, and Google will notice that and put you up near the top of the page. It took me a while to figure that out, and I thought you had to pay for advertising to get a decent prominent listing on Google, but it's true. If you pay or you're a sponsor, you can get your ad right near the top of the page, but that's not what I do. I create a lot of content, and that calls YouTube's algorithm's attention to it, as well as Google, because Google owns YouTube, just in case you didn't know that. So the more content you can create and the more frequently you can keep up that content, put it out once or twice a month, even weekly if you can. Put something up there, even if it's just something little, just to keep the algorithm constantly saying, hey, this guy or this company is always doing something new. That'll keep your advertising near the top of that page. Maybe you're not giving enough away to your community. You're just trying to make money constantly. From time to time, you should be putting something back in the community, from free classes. You could do in-store workshops, youth work, doing a free demo for a local band or a church group. It's great. It's going to be good PR for you. Other people are going to be coming and saying, hey, this guy's doing this for free. He's just trying to help out our community. That goes a long way. This is true in any business, not just this business, but the recording studio and production industry is not exempt from this type of work. So do a little pro bono work once in a while. Do something for the community. Doing some kind of a little workshop is great too. If you can go down to someplace and speak as an engineer or as a producer about the music industry, or whatever you know. If you know microphones and compressors, go talk about that. Take some questions and answers. Give a little bit of your time one afternoon, especially on a day that you wouldn't be doing anything anyway. Maybe you don't have a session going on that day. Go down and do a guest lecture for free. And you never know who you're going to meet. You can hand out business cards. People are going to come up afterwards, and you can give out your card then and say, hey, come down to my studio anytime, check it out. If you guys are considering something in the near future, give me a call. It's a great way to drum up new business as well. Maybe the public just can't get through to you. You've got to pick up the phone. You've got to return those emails promptly. I've had so many clients, I always ask my clients, hey, how did you hear about me? But many times people will say, yeah, I was looking online and I saw your studio and several others, and I called them all. I called 3 of them, and you're the one that called me back. You got all this time and energy into your advertising. What good is it going to do if you don't pick up the phone? And I don't mean let it go to voicemail. I mean, pick it up. If you're not busy, and maybe if it's an unknown number, don't just pick up the calls from your friends. You got to pick up the phone even when you don't know. It might be spam or a wrong number, but pick up the phone and find out. And be professional when you pick up that phone. Don't just pick up the phone and say, yo, maybe say, hello, this is such and such productions. This is Tom speaking. How can I help you? Make it sound like you're a company, because you are. Get back to people quickly. A lot of people inquire about the studio through a text or an email. Those are gold. As soon as you see that, I always check my email first thing in the morning. Respond to those immediately. The quicker you can get back, they might want to book something that day or very soon. So if you get back to them right away, you're on top of the game and you're beating the competition. The faster you can pick up the phone and get back to people, even when you're busy, the more chances are you're going to get their money and their time in your studio. Try to make it really fun and easy for them to come see your studio quickly. One of the things I do is I offer a free consultation. When people call to ask about the studio, I'll send them my prices. I have a list that I send people, so we're not talking about money. I try to start talking about their project and their needs to get them interested in what they were going to do with me instead of talking about money. So all that studio information, prices, policies, all that address, well, I don't send out the address right away. I save that for later. But in information that's kind of routine, have a little thing you can send them. So when they, hey, how much does it cost to record there? Oh, let me send you our prices. Now let's talk about your project instead of talking about, why you're charging this much per hour, explaining all that. Just fix your prices, print it up, and send them a little text or an email with that information that they can look over. I also put it on my website. They can go to my website and see my rates clearly. A lot of people differ from that. They say don't put your rates up online, but I do. You can always negotiate down. Put your prices up where you want them. You can always work down if you want to, but try not to. So yeah, when they call and they say I give a free consultation, that means they can come by the studio, see the place and see where you are, meet you right away. I'll offer them a cup of tea or a beverage and say, have a seat, let's talk. Give them about a half an hour of your time. They might not be ready to book right that day, but if you take the time to make them a cup of tea and chat with them for a little bit, when they are ready to book, it might be a week or a month or even a year later, they're going to remember that guy that was nice to them and took the time to meet with them and just said, come on down and let me talk to you. So a free consultation, it also gives you an opportunity to meet them and see if they're strange or weird or you get a bad vibe from them. You'll know when you meet them, and it's a good way to figure out kind of who they are before you get into some long, involved production process. Because once they've sent you in a deposit and the money started going, it's a little harder to get out of that arrangement. So maybe find out if they're the kind of person you want to work with as well as they're going to find out about you. And if you have time that day, make it easy for them to come and see the studio. Don't say maybe next week. Say, hey, come by today. I'm free after 3, or I'm busy today. Come by tomorrow morning. The quicker they can come by, they might be ready to book. They might want to get in quickly. If you can, do that. But if you're busy or you don't like taking people at the last minute, I understand that. I'm a little bit the same way. I don't like people trying to get in the same day. I like people calling at least a few days or a week ahead of time and scheduling. That tells me a lot about them if they can do that. If they're being all pushy and want to get in that day, maybe that's a red flag for you. But make it easy for them to come by and see you and meet you quickly. Be accessible. Have your information about your studio printed up and ready to send. Everything should be really transparent. But like I said, if somebody's rubbing you the wrong way, maybe now is the good time to say, hey, I don't think this is a match. I can refer you to some other studio, or just let it go. If you don't want to work with them, that's your prerogative. Don't get stuck in a situation with somebody that you don't like working with, just because you want the money. My price list is simple and easy to understand. I put it on my website, adjust it constantly, but I always try to keep my rates current so anybody can quickly and easily go see how much money they're going to be spending with me. Also studio policies, cancellations, a studio clock, all that information. If they show up late, what happens to master files, payment terms, do you take credit cards, what payment forms do you take, all that information that takes up all your time in a phone call, you can type it up and have that on your website or on a little PDF that you can easily email or even text to people really, really quickly without having to make them guess about how much you cost or what your policies are. I know I've talked about this before in other videos, but it's a really basic one. If you smell bad, people probably aren't going to want to hang out with you very long. If you haven't bathed or have a strong BO, or you like spicy foods, or you just had a big greasy pizza for lunch, try to make sure you smell good. Brush your teeth, put on deodorant, take a shower, whatever you got to do to make yourself smell good. I'm not saying put on a whole bunch of cologne or perfume. That's kind of a no-no also. You don't have a whole bunch of cologne. That's almost just as bad, but make sure you smell good or have no smell at all when people are going to come and work with you for long periods of time. Especially when they're coming in to meet you for the first time. That's one of the first impressions people are going to get about you is how you appear and how you smell, and then how you talk. Try to make yourself smell and look good for all those sessions. And I'm not even going to talk about if you've been getting high or getting drunk. I've got a whole nother video on that you can watch, but yeah, you probably don't want to be high or drunk for consultations, and certainly not for recording sessions. If you've got a really bad attitude or a strange political belief or religion that you want to talk about, it's probably best that you don't. Try to keep all that personal stuff to yourself. I make it a policy never to talk about politics these days. The country is so divided, I really don't try to get into that. I let people talk all they want about it, but when they start asking me my opinions on that, I try to bow out gracefully. So yeah, if you've got a bad attitude or a strange belief system, keep it to yourself. You never know who you're talking to. They might not have the same belief system that you do, but they might have some really good songs that they need recorded and they're willing to pay for. So keep that at the front of your mind. Yeah, make sure your appearance and your demeanor are professional and clean cut. If you don't come across as being professional enough, people probably aren't going to want to spend money on you. If you're coming in like a gangster or a punk or a rock and roller, you might get some of those clients that are like that, but you want to kind of be a chameleon that can take on any kind of client. Wearing a clean shirt and being relatively clean cut is a good idea. You just got to be ready to take on any kind of client and be the engineer type. I'm not saying don't be yourself. By all means, be yourself. Dress like you'd like to, but keep it clean and professional. Definitely be sober. Are you making the client feel welcome and comfortable? Are you ready when they first walk in the door? When they knock on the door and come in, are you greeting them? Are you saying, come on in, have a seat, let me get you a cup of tea or a coffee, or are you thirsty? Show them where the restrooms are, show them around a little bit, make them feel welcome and like you've been expecting them. Don't just make them feel like, oh, they dropped by and maybe you'll have time to deal with them today. I always get down in the studio a little bit early to make sure obviously all the equipment is turned on, the lights, the AC, I turn that all ahead of time so it's all cool and comfortable. The gears had a chance to warm up and be ready. I do sound checks ahead of time. So when the client comes in, I'm focused on the client and not on some technical problem or a runny faucet or something like that, or last night's floor needs to be mopped. I take care of that usually about an hour, at least a half an hour before the client even gets there. I'll start my session. Check and make sure your DAW is up and running. There's always a problem with the DAW. There's always something going wrong. You might have to restart. I hate doing that when the client's waiting for me to start recording them, so I'll check my DAW and make sure that the mics are going through to it properly in my speakers. I'll even check reverbs and headphones. Have some beverages out. Do you have some snacks out for them? That's always a nice thing when they can, I offer my clients free tea, coffee, and lemonade. I always have a pitcher of lemonade, iced and ready to go, cold water. Make sure your bathrooms are good. You got toilet paper, things are clean. I've talked about this before in other videos, but I wanted to re-stress it here just in case you wonder why people aren't coming back again and again. It might be because your place is not that clean, or maybe it's filthy. If the client wants to trash the place, that's their business, and it's up to you whether you want to let them do that. But I start with a clean slate, and if it deteriorates from there, that's up to them. I offer my clients cookies. I have 3 cookie jars with 3 different types of cookies in them, and that's always nice to have a snack too. If somebody wants a break, I tell them go get a cookie if they did a good take, and cookies are for winners. You might want to look at your rates. I keep my rates comfortably high where I want them and where I feel that they're of value to me, it's worth my time to go down there and spend hours of my day with somebody. I want to make sure that I'm compensated for that to a level that I like. I want to be paid well for my work. But if you start charging too much, it's almost as bad as charging too little. If you charge too little, you might be overbooked and people undervalue you. But if you charge too much, people might just go elsewhere where they can afford it. There is a threshold where people are just going to say, that's too much, I can't afford $2,000 to come in and record a demo. They want to come in at a certain rate. So just kind of make sure you're feeling out your local area, maybe call around and check the other prices of other studios, what other guys are charging, and kind of be competitive with that. I'm not saying you need to lowball them, I'm just saying check your prices, make sure they're not too high for the area that you're in. For any of you guys that are just starting out, your inexperience is definitely going to be a problem. This is where you need to really double down on what you offer. Your attitude is really important here. If you're just getting started and you're inexperienced, you need to really push harder to compete with other studios that have more experience than you. Here, it's really critical that your attitude towards your clients' comfort and satisfaction are really high. Are you giving them everything they want when they come to the studio? Are you really checking to make sure that they're happy every step of the way? Are you giving a follow-up call? If something went wrong, are you comping them some time to make up for it? If you messed up, you can't just sneak away. You have to be proactive about that and say, hey, I know last session didn't go so well. Why don't you come in this weekend and I'll make it up to you. Whatever you need to do to keep that client on your good side and not hating you and spreading bad information about you in your town. So if you're inexperienced, that's really important. Your attitude, your can-do attitude is going to be really important. So double down and do everything you can until you get the experience that you need. It might just be that your town is too small. If you live in a small town, or like I do on an island in the middle of nowhere, you might need to travel. You might need to drive or fly to some other nearby towns or cities to expand your business area. If your town is teeny, you might be doing great, but if there's only 3 bands in that town, there's only so much you can do. So you might need to travel, go network in other areas, go visit another studio, go talk to another producer engineer, go have lunch with somebody, get on a plane, go to a seminar, any place where there's going to be other musicians, other producers, other bands, other filmmakers. If they're not in your town, you need to go to them, and it's definitely worth the money to do that. You might have to buy a plane ticket, you might have to stay in a hotel room, you might have to pay for a seminar or a workshop, but those are places where you can network and bring back work and money back to your studio. You might be working on mix downs coming in from other places. You might have people calling you up to ask if you can put tracks on their instrumental. Can you add a vocal? Can you add some guitars or drums and send it back to them? There's all kinds of ways you can network if you live in a smaller town. We live in an age where you can do this. It used to be you'd have to go get on a plane and go physically fly and go record in another studio. Now you can send WAV files around with the speed of the internet, and just you can go and hire a concert cellist that lives in Beijing to perform on your hip hop track. But the world is your oyster. Get out there and beat the bush, bring in some new clients for those of you guys that live in small towns like me. You might need to diversify a little bit too. If you're just offering one type of service, like I only do hip hop programming, or I only do rock and roll bands with drums, bass, and guitars. We only do voiceover work for advertisements. We only do bands of a certain genre. We only do church bands, something like that. You might be very good at that particular genre, but you're limiting yourself to 80% of all kinds of other work that maybe is not in your genre. I'm not saying that you need to do everything, but find a few other things that you like doing that are outside of your genre and bring in those clients as well. You offer limited services and you're not diversified, you're leaving money on the table. And I hear this all the time from clients coming in that have worked in other recording studios, that have worked with other engineers and producers. Typically what I'll hear is something like, I like the studio, the equipment was good, the rates were good, but the producer was trying to make my song or my project into something that was different than what I wanted. That is, they were trying to take over and dictate how the project went, when maybe the client didn't want that. Maybe the client has a very clear idea of what they want their project to sound like, And they don't really need your opinion as a producer. What they just need is a good engineer who can record them properly without trying to influence their project too much. So that's a real sore thumb for a lot of clients. They don't want to be told what to do. Some do. Some want to know. They want to be guided from beginning to end, from programming the original beats to putting down the final mix to mastering. Try not to do that. Try to find out if a client wants your input or not. If they don't, then your job's easier. All you have to do is be a good engineer and be a pleasant human being to be around, and try to give them what they want. Don't scare off a client with your production ideas. I see this constantly, and I've heard this constantly. Just the other day I heard it, that the engineer that the guy previously worked with was on his phone constantly. He was checking his texts constantly. He was checking his sports scores, whatever. Don't be on your phone for any reason when you're with a client. Turn your phone off or put it on silent and put it out of the way where you're not tempted to reach and grab it. If somebody needs to get in touch with you during an emergency, that's one thing, but that's pretty rare that ever happens. When your session starts, put away your phone and spend 100% of your attention on your client's project. Don't talk on the phone while your client's in the room. And the same could be said for the musicians in the room. It's a good idea for the singer to put down his or her phone and not worrying about their Instagram account right now. Ask them to silence their phone for a little bit. Focus on the 2 hours that they're going to be in the session and the work that they have to do there. And then they got the rest of their life to be on their phone. But I really like to make the studio space where people turn off their electronic devices and focus 100% on the art. Hopefully some of these ideas will help your business pick up a little bit. I'm sorry if it's a little bit slow for you right now. It's a tough business, but keep at it. Try some of these ideas and see if you can drum up a little bit more business and keep going. And as always, aloha from Hilo, Hawaii.